The arrival. The silence in the council chamber was almost deafening. Earth's representatives sat patiently at the long, polished table, their expressions calm but unreadable. Across from them stood the alien delegation, their tall, elegant forms radiating an air of superiority. At the center of the group was her, the envoy's leader, Sira Length, a high-ranking diplomat from the Zenthari Empire. She was a woman of sharp intellect, known for her strategic brilliance and unshakable confidence. Sira's deep purple eyes scanned the humans before her. She couldn't hide her disdain. They were small, fragile compared to the Zenthari. They relied too much on instinct, emotions, and primitive methods. And yet these beings had managed to secure a resource so rare that the Zenthari themselves now had to negotiate. "Is this your leader?" Sira finally asked, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. She gestured towards the figure sitting at the far end of the table. A man called Doc was unlike anyone Sira had expected. He wasn't dressed in ornate robes or adorned with symbols of power. He wore a simple dark suit, his face unremarkable except for the sharpness in his pale green eyes. He looked more like a scholar than someone in charge of humanity's affairs. Doc didn't respond immediately. He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers in thought. The room seemed to hold its breath. "Yes," one of the human delegates finally said. "Doc speaks for Earth in this matter." Sira raised an eyebrow, her disbelief apparent. "You've sent an academic to negotiate with the Zenthari Empire," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Doc smiled faintly, his gaze locking onto hers. "Titles can be misleading," he replied, his voice calm but laced with a quiet authority. The Zenthari delegation exchanged glances. Sira felt her frustration rise. Was this some kind of human arrogance? A game to test her patience? "Very well," Sira said, masking her annoyance. "Let us begin." The meeting started with formalities. Sira laid out the Zenthari's position, her arguments precise and compelling. The rare mineral known as trinixium, found only in Earth's crust, was critical for the Empire's energy needs. In exchange, the Zenthari promised advanced technology and protection. As Sira spoke, she kept an eye on Doc. He listened intently, never interrupting, his expression neutral. It was unnerving. When it was Doc's turn to speak, his approach was unorthodox. Instead of countering her points immediately, he asked questions. Simple, probing questions that seemed harmless at first, but quickly unraveled the logic behind the Zenthari's demands. "You speak of protection," Doc said, his voice steady. "Protection from whom exactly?" Sira hesitated. "From those who might exploit your vulnerabilities," she replied carefully. Doc tilted his head slightly. "And who decides which vulnerabilities are worth exploiting? Would it be the same empire demanding resources from a supposedly weaker planet?" The room fell silent. Sira felt a flicker of uncertainty. Was he mocking her? Or was there something deeper in his words? After hours of back-and-forth discussion, Sira began to notice something strange. Doc's demeanor never wavered. Where others might have grown tired or frustrated, he remained composed, his responses razor-sharp. At one point, Doc leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing. "You believe humanity is unprepared for conflict," he said, his tone quiet but firm. "That assumption has been made before. It has always ended poorly for those who underestimated us." There was no anger in his words, only a chilling certainty. Sira's confidence faltered. For the first time, she wondered if the humans were hiding something. As the meeting adjourned for the day, Sira lingered behind, her thoughts racing. She watched as Doc gathered his papers, his movements unhurried. "What are you really after?" she asked, unable to hide her curiosity. Doc paused, his eyes meeting hers. "Understanding," he said simply, "and perhaps a bit of respect." Sira frowned, confused by his answer. But as Doc walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something. The Zenthari had come to Earth expecting a simple negotiation. What they found instead was a mystery, and Sira couldn't help but wonder if the unassuming man called Doc was the key to unraveling it. Shadows of authority. Syra Length reclined in her quarters aboard the Zenthari flagship, staring at the holographic display before her. The day's negotiations had left her unsettled. Doc's words replayed in her mind like an unsolved puzzle. He had revealed nothing, yet his presence had spoken volumes. The Zenthari prided themselves on their intelligence networks, and Syra was no exception to this privilege. She activated the interface, her fingers moving deftly over the translucent panel. Within moments, Earth's political structure, alliances, and recent activities unfolded before her. Doc's name appeared in the central node of the diagram. To her surprise, it was accompanied by minimal data. No detailed biography, no list of accomplishments, no public appearances, just a placeholder that read, "Classified by Terran Authority." Syra frowned. Classified. That was rare for a species that had only recently integrated into the broader galactic community. The humans had been open about their technology, their history, even their weaknesses. Why hide information about this man? "This doesn't make sense," Syra muttered, her voice a whisper in the stillness. She leaned back and summoned her aide, a Zenthari operative named Kaler. His wiry frame entered the room, his golden eyes gleaming with curiosity. "You summoned me, envoy?" he asked, bowing slightly. Syra gestured to the holographic display. "This man, Doc. Find out everything you can about him. I want to know who he is, where he comes from, and why Earth considers him so important." Kaler hesitated. "I've already tried, envoy. Their security protocols are unusual. Even our most advanced decryption methods have failed." "Try harder," Syra snapped. "I don't care what it takes. He's hiding something, and I want to know what it is." Kaler nodded and left without another word. The following day, the negotiations resumed, but Syra's focus was elsewhere. She watched Doc closely, noting every subtle movement, every fleeting expression. He was an enigma, and Syra hated mysteries. As Doc spoke, his words carried the same calm authority as before, yet there was an undertone of warning. Syra couldn't tell if it was deliberate or unintentional, but it left the room uneasy. At one point, he turned to Syra directly. "Your empire prides itself on strategy, envoy," he said. "Surely you understand the importance of not underestimating an opponent, no matter how insignificant they may seem." The statement wasn't overtly hostile, but it carried a weight that made Syra's skin prickle. She forced a smile. "Of course," she replied smoothly. "But understanding an opponent requires transparency. Wouldn't you agree, Doc?" Doc's faint smile returned, and for a moment, Syra thought she saw a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "Transparency," he echoed. "An admirable goal, but one that must be earned." The room fell silent again, the tension palpable. Later that evening, Kaler returned to Syra's quarters. His expression was grim. "Well?" she demanded. Kaler hesitated. "I found something, envoy, but it's unconventional." "Show me." Kaler activated his own device, and a grainy video began to play. The footage was old, predating Earth's entry into the galactic community. It showed a vast conference room filled with human leaders. At the center of the room stood Doc, his presence commanding despite his unassuming appearance. He was speaking, his voice calm yet resolute. "We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions," he said. "If we stand united, there is nothing we cannot achieve. Our survival depends on our ability to adapt and innovate, and we will survive." The room and the video erupted into applause. Syra frowned. "What is this?" "An old Earth meeting," Kaler explained. "It seems Doc was instrumental in shaping their global policies during a time of crisis. He's not just a diplomat. He's a strategist, a unifier, possibly even a warrior." Syra's mind raced. If Doc had that kind of influence, then his authority extended far beyond the negotiations they were currently engaged in. But there was more to it. The way he spoke, the way people listened to him, it wasn't just respect. It was reverence. Syra's unease deepened. Who was this man, really? Whispers of power. Syra paced her quarters, the unease in her chest growing with every step. The more she learned about Doc, the less she understood. The footage Kaler had uncovered hinted at influence and authority far beyond what Earth should possess, but it still didn't answer the question gnawing at her mind. Why was this man so central to Earth's dealings with the galaxy? She glanced at the holo display, where Doc's name floated in bold letters. Beneath it, a series of encrypted files blinked, mocking her inability to access them. Her frustration boiled over. "Kaler," she called. The aide appeared within moments, his expression neutral but his posture tense. He could sense her growing impatience. "Yes, envoy. Have you found anything else?" Kaler hesitated, which only fueled her irritation. "Speak." "I traced some of Doc's movements over the past decade," he began cautiously. "He's been present at nearly every significant diplomatic event involving Earth. But it's not just diplomacy. There are records, fragmented but suggestive, that link him to Earth's military operations as well." "Military?" Syra's brows knit together. "Explain." Kaler adjusted the holo display, pulling up a series of distorted images and vague reports. One showed a shadowy figure resembling Doc in a command center surrounded by humans in uniforms. Another mentioned a covert operation that had thwarted a pirate fleet threatening a Terran colony. Earth has always presented itself as a peaceful participant in the galactic community, Kaler said, his tone careful. But these fragments suggest they have a military infrastructure far more sophisticated than we assumed, and Doc seems to be at the heart of it. Syra's stomach churned. If Earth had hidden military capabilities, it would shift the balance of power in the galaxy. The Zenthari Empire had always viewed humanity as a minor player, too new and inexperienced to pose any real threat. But what if they'd been wrong? "What else?" she demanded. Kaler hesitated again. "There's one more thing. I found references to something called Project Ecliptic. It's mentioned alongside Doc's name in several encrypted files. I couldn't access the details, but whatever it is, it's classified at the highest level." Syra's eyes narrowed. "Project Ecliptic. Yes, envoy. I believe it's connected to their hidden capabilities, perhaps even to their battle fleet." The next day, Syra approached the negotiation chamber with renewed determination. She watched Doc closely as he exchanged pleasantries with the other delegates. His calm demeanor remained unshaken, his faint smile as enigmatic as ever. As the meeting began, Syra leaned forward, her tone calculated but firm. "Doc, may I ask a question?" He turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Of course, envoy." "You've been a central figure in Earth's dealings with the galaxy," she began. "A unifier, a diplomat, a strategist. But I can't help but wonder, what lies beneath the surface? What is it that Earth truly seeks to achieve here?" The room fell silent, all eyes on Doc. He met Syra's gaze, his faint smile unwavering. "What lies beneath the surface, envoy, is the same for any species. The desire to protect what we hold dear," he replied smoothly. "But protection requires preparation. I would think the Zenthari understand that better than most." It was a deflection, but an elegant one. Syra pressed on. "And Project Ecliptic, is that part of your preparation?" For the first time, a flicker of something, surprise, perhaps, crossed Doc's face. It was gone in an instant, replaced by his usual calm. "I see you've done your research," he said, "but I'm afraid I can't discuss classified matters." The room buzzed with whispered speculation. Syra's heart raced. She had struck a nerve, but it wasn't enough. That evening, Syra received an anonymous transmission. The message was brief but chilling. "Do not dig further. For your sake and ours." The transmission ended before she could trace its origin. Syra sat back, her mind racing. Someone didn't want her uncovering the truth. But why? And who was protecting Earth's secrets? Shadows of a hidden power. The anonymous warning replayed in Syra's mind, each word echoing like a challenge. She had spent her life navigating the murky waters of Xanthari diplomacy, deciphering half-truths and veiled threats. But this felt different, personal, immediate, and deeply unsettling. Still, Syrah wasn't one to back down. If someone was trying to deter her, it only meant she was onto something significant. She called Kaler into her quarters. "We're doubling our efforts," she said, her voice firm. Kaler looked uneasy. "Envoy, whoever sent that message, is trying to scare us," Syrah interrupted. "And that tells me there's something they don't want us to find." Kaler hesitated but eventually nodded. "What do you need me to do?" Syrah gestured to the holo display, where encrypted files and fragments of intelligence flickered like puzzle pieces. "I need everything you can uncover about Project Ecliptic and Earth's hidden power, no matter how small or insignificant it seems." Kaler gave a reluctant nod and left. Syrah turned back to the display, her jaw set in determination. The next morning, Kaler returned with a grim expression. "I found something, but you're not going to like it," he said. He projected a shaky, fragmented video onto the display. The footage was grainy, likely captured covertly. It showed a fleet of ships, sleek, massive, and brimming with advanced weaponry. They hovered above a barren planet, their metallic surfaces shimmering ominously. At the center of the fleet was a massive vessel unlike anything Syrah had ever seen. Its design was unorthodox, almost alien in appearance, with angular structures that pulse with an eerie blue light. "This was taken near the Andros Nebula," Kaler explained, "a remote area where Earth supposedly conducted scientific research. But this isn't research, it's a fleet. And that ship at the center, it's called the Arbiter." Syrah's breath caught. The name alone radiated authority. "Why haven't we heard about this before?" she asked. Kaler shook his head. "Earth's secrecy is unparalleled. They've managed to keep this hidden from even the most resourceful of spies. But it gets worse. The Arbiter isn't just a flagship. It's a command center capable of coordinating entire fleets with unmatched precision." Syrah's mind reeled. If Earth had been hiding this level of military power, it was no wonder they remained unchallenged. But there was more. Kaler hesitated before pulling up another file. It was heavily redacted, but one word stood out: directive. "What does it mean?" Syrah asked. "I don't know," Kaler admitted, "but it's linked to Project Ecliptic. Whatever directive is, it seems to be the foundation of Earth's entire strategy." Later that day, Syrah confronted Doc during a private moment after the negotiations. "You've been hiding something," she said, her voice low but firm. Doc turned to her, his expression calm as always. "We all have secrets, Envoy. Even the Xanthari. But yours could change everything," she pressed. "What is directive?" For a split second, Doc's composure faltered. It was the smallest crack, but it was enough for Syrah to know she had struck a nerve. "Envoy," Doc said, his tone measured, "there are truths you're better off not knowing. For the sake of peace." Syrah's frustration bubbled over. "Peace or control? Because what I've seen suggests Earth has been preparing for something far more than self-defense." Doc stepped closer, his gaze steady. "And what if we have? Would you blame us for wanting to ensure our survival in a galaxy that has rarely shown kindness to the weak?" Syrah opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. Doc's words lingered in the air, heavy with implication. That night, Syrah received another anonymous transmission. This one contained coordinates and a single sentence: "If you want the truth, come alone." The revelation. The journey to the mysterious coordinates was shrouded in silence. Syrah had chosen to go alone, leaving Kaler behind with strict orders to monitor her signal. The shuttle hummed softly as it weaved through the dense asteroid field toward an uncharted location deep within neutral space. The destination wasn't a planet or a station, but a massive, ancient structure, half hidden within the shadows of a craggy asteroid. Its architecture was unlike anything Syrah had seen, neither Earth-like nor Xanthari. It pulsed faintly with a strange energy, as if it were alive. As she docked her shuttle, her communicator crackled to life. "Envoy Sira," a calm voice said. "Welcome. I trust you came alone." The voice wasn't Doc's. It was human, but unfamiliar. Sira hesitated before responding. "Who are you?" "All will be explained. Proceed inside," the voice replied. The interior of the structure was dimly lit, its walls lined with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and shimmer as she moved. A single pathway led to a central chamber, where a figure stood waiting. The man was tall and unassuming, his plain gray attire devoid of any insignia. His piercing eyes, however, betrayed an unsettling intensity. "I am Commander Hayes," he introduced himself. "I oversee what you've come to know as Directive. Then you can explain what Earth is hiding," Sira said, her voice firm. Hayes gestured to a large, circular display in the center of the chamber. It activated with a soft hum, projecting a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red markers dotted various regions, each accompanied by streams of data. "This is what we're hiding," Hayes said. "The galaxy isn't as stable as the Council pretends. Threats, both internal and external, have been growing unchecked for centuries." He pointed to a cluster of red markers near Zenthari territory. Rogue factions, warlords, and ancient AI remnants. They've been quietly expanding, waiting for the right moment to strike. Sira's eyes narrowed. "And Earth's role in this?" "Preparation," Hayes replied. "We've spent centuries developing the means to neutralize these threats, should they escalate. The Arbiter Fleet, Project Ecliptic, and Directive. They're all part of a larger strategy to safeguard not just Earth, but the entire galaxy." Sira folded her arms, skeptical. "Safeguard, or control. The Council might see this as an act of aggression." Hayes met her gaze, unflinching. "Control is not our goal. Survival is. Humanity learned long ago that power alone doesn't guarantee safety. Strategy does. Secrecy does." He activated another segment of the display, revealing a massive archive of intercepted communications, battle simulations, and classified intelligence reports. Each one painted a grim picture of the galaxy's future if these threats were left unchecked. "You've seen the cracks forming in the Council's unity," Hayes continued. "The Zenthari Empire itself is teetering on the edge of rebellion. If we're not prepared, we all fall." Sira's mind raced. Everything she had assumed about Earth's motives felt less certain now. "Why tell me this?" she asked finally. "Because you're different," Hayes said. "You question. You seek truth, even when it's inconvenient. Earth needs allies who understand the stakes. And if you carry this knowledge back to the Zenthari, perhaps we can work together to prevent the chaos that's coming." Before Sira could respond, the display flickered, and an alert flashed across the screen. A fleet, unregistered and heavily armed, was approaching the structure. "They'd found us," Hayes said grimly. "You need to leave. Now." "But what about you?" Sira asked. "We'll handle it," Hayes replied. "Take this." He handed her a data chip. "It contains everything you've seen here, and more. Use it wisely." Sira barely made it back to her shuttle before the first explosions rocked the structure. As she sped away, the distant flashes of battle filled her view, the Arbiter fleet suddenly appearing to intercept the invaders. The weight of truth. Sira's shuttle raced through the vastness of space, the distant flashes of battle dwindling in her rear view. Her hands trembled on the controls. The data chip Hayes had given her feeling like it weighed 1,000 tons. The revelation she had witnessed spun endlessly in her mind. Earth wasn't the reckless, defiant upstart the Zenthari Council portrayed. It was a silent guardian, operating in shadows, holding back threats that could consume the galaxy. Yet the line between protection and dominance was razor-thin. Sira activated her communicator. "Kaler," she said, her voice sharp. "I'm returning to the flagship. Prepare for debriefing. Alone." Kaler's voice crackled back, hesitant. "Understood, Envoy. Are you unharmed?" "I'm fine," she snapped, cutting the connection. She wasn't ready to explain what she'd seen. Not yet. Back aboard her Xanthari vessel, Sira retreated to her quarters. The ship's artificial lights hummed softly, casting an eerie glow as she inserted the data chip into her terminal. The files opened, displaying Earth's secrets in painful detail. Each piece of information confirmed Hayes' warnings. Rogue AI factions rising in forgotten star systems, ancient weapons hidden in uncharted territories, alliances of warlords poised to strike. One video file caught her attention. It was a recording of a battle, a devastating clash between Earth's Ardor fleet and a rogue AI armada. Despite the overwhelming odds, the human ships displayed an almost unnerving precision, dismantling the AI forces with surgical efficiency. The final frame lingered. An Earth captain standing on a bridge, his expression stoic as his fleet eradicated the enemy. Below him, the words for the survival of all. Sira leaned back, her heart pounding. The weight of the truth pressed down on her. If she revealed this to the Xanthari Council, it could spark paranoia and aggression. The Council might see Earth's actions as a bid for galactic control. But if she stayed silent, she risked leaving the galaxy vulnerable to the very threats Earth was trying to contain. Her thoughts were interrupted by a chime at her door. "Envoy Sira, it's Keller," came the familiar voice. "Enter," she said, hurriedly shutting down the terminal. Keller stepped in, his usual composed demeanor replaced by unease. "We've received a report. The structure you visited, it's gone. Destroyed in the battle." Cyrus' stomach dropped. "Casualties?" "Unclear," Keller replied. "But the Council is already suspicious. They've summoned you for questioning." Sarah rose, pacing the room. She needed time to think, to decide her next move. The Council would demand answers, and any hesitation could be seen as betrayal. "What did you find there, Sira?" Keller asked softly. She hesitated. Keller had been her trusted second for years, but could he handle the truth? Could anyone? "Something complicated," she said finally. "I need to process it." Keller nodded, though his concern deepened. "The Council won't wait long. Be careful, Sira. Not everyone wants the truth to come to light." As Keller left, Sira returned to the terminal, her gaze falling on the data chip once more. Hayes' words echoed in her mind. Use it wisely. The next move was hers to make. Would she risk the Council's wrath by exposing Earth's secrets, or would she keep the truth buried, letting the galaxy stumble blindly into chaos? The Reckoning. The Council chamber was a massive circular arena, its translucent walls glowing faintly with the hues of a distant nebula. High above, representatives of the Xanthari sat in elevated alcoves, their faces shrouded in shadow. Sira stood alone in the center, the weight of the galaxy pressing down on her. Her heart pounded as Supreme Arbiter Zelkath leaned forward, his four eyes narrowing. "Envoy Sira, you were sent to investigate Earth's Dock project. What did you discover?" Sira glanced at the data chip concealed in her pocket. Her mind raced, replaying every moment with Hayes, every revelation she'd seen. If she spoke the full truth, chaos would follow. If she lied, the galaxy might be left defenseless against greater threats. "I discovered more than we anticipated," she began, her voice steady despite the storm within. "Earth's Dock is no ordinary station. It's a command hub, designed to coordinate their advanced battle fleet. Their technology far surpasses our expectations." A murmur rippled through the chamber, whispers of fear and suspicion. "And their intentions?" Zelkath pressed. Sira hesitated. "Protective," she said carefully. "They are aware of threats that extend beyond our collective understanding. They act to preserve balance, even if their methods seem extreme." The Council erupted. Some representatives argued that Earth was a dangerous rogue power, while others insisted that humanity's actions might be justified. Zelkath raised a hand, silencing the debate. "And why," he asked slowly, "should we trust that they won't turn their fleets against us?" Sira took a deep breath. "Because they already could have. They've had the power for decades, Yet they'd held back. Their focus isn't domination, it's survival. Before Zelkath could respond, a sharp alarm blared through the chamber. A holographic display activated in the center, showing an incoming fleet, a massive armada emerging from the edges of Zenthari space. Unidentified vessels, an automated voice announced. Weapons systems active. Incoming communication. The chamber fell silent as the image shifted to reveal a figure, cloaked in darkness, their voice distorted. "You thought you could keep your secrets hidden," the figure hissed. "But we know. Earth's fleet, their dock, your lies, they all end here." Syra's blood ran cold. The rogue factions Hayes had warned her about had arrived. They weren't just targeting Earth. They intended to ignite a war that would consume the entire galaxy. Zelkath turned to Sira, his expression grim. "What is the meaning of this, envoy? Did Earth send them?" "No," Sira said firmly. "These are the threats Earth has been fighting to contain. We must act together, or we will fall." The Council hesitated, doubt and fear evident. "Supreme Arbiter," Sira continued, stepping forward, "give me authority to contact Earth. They're the only ones who can stop this." Zelkath studied her for a long moment before nodding. "You have one chance, envoy. Do not fail us." Sira activated her communicator, her voice steady. "This is Envoy Sira of the Zenthari Council, requesting immediate assistance from Earth's fleet. Hostile forces are en route to Council space. Humanity, we need your help." The response came quickly, a single, calm voice. "This is Admiral Hayes. We're already on our way." The chamber filled with stunned silence. Humanity wasn't waiting to be asked. They were prepared. As the holographic display showed Earth's fleet entering Zenthari space, a collective sense of awe and dread settled over the Council. The ships moved with precision and power, their massive forms dwarfing the incoming armada. Sira watched as Earth's fleet clashed with the rogue forces, their strategy flawless. Yet, amidst the chaos, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning.